From Select Board Town Manager.
That he can hear us and see us.
He can hear us and see us.
I believe it got fixed. Now stuff is being shown. The only thing that I need to fix is the sound on there, but I can do that.
If I understood your statement about what the problem was, the problem's at SAPA anyway. It's not here.
Oh, wait, no, I'm not. Yeah, it is. It didn't get fixed.
Okay. Dr. Murray says that he can hear and see us. DeForest, I see you're on there. Can you hear and see us as well? Can we not hear them? Is that what the problem is?
The audio dropped.
Yep, I'm gonna put it back to the way it was. I thought it was getting,
Okay.
it was getting fixed, but I'm gonna just put it back now.
I do concur with your frustration, Dave.
Do other meetings go through this same thing? Do we have the planning board and whatever other things that are going on the same way? School board? I mean,
So the select board's the only board in town that uses SAPA. SAPA doesn't record for the planning commission. So what's happening here is we have a connection between SAPA and Zoom. And it's the software, Olivia, the NDI software, is that the issue?
Honestly, I don't even believe it's the MDI software. It's something where SAPA would come up and it would show what the videos come through and everything. It would always start up with Weathersfield Select Board, that whole thing. That wasn't able to come up all day. They logged out. It was them kind of working on that because they're saying that the microphones, like, can you see them even over there, like they're taking in sound. So the actual mics are functioning. This was on SAPA and SAPA's end of time. Like,
but this is like reoccurring. That's my point. This isn't like a one-up.
it's a reoccurring problem where there's been issues with technology every time, but sadly each time has been like a different.
Well, just let me know so I can show up at 20 of 7 or quarter of 7. That's what my point is. Our meetings should be prompt. If they're not,
Well, I
it's going to be
agree.
at 6:30, then let's change the meetings.
I don't know that that would solve the problem, because then you'd just be focused on trying to start at the new time, and you'd still be 20 minutes late by the time it's working.
Then let's not have SAPA.
So Dr. Murray said audio and video is working.
Audio and video is working. Okay. Okay. Do you, anything else from you?
That's it.
Citizens, topics not on the agenda. Anybody from the gallery want to speak? Topics not on the agenda. VL Coffin is here again tonight. VL Coffin won House seat in the state of Vermont. Thank you very much. Congratulations on your victory. And I'm sure you'll represent us well. Review minutes of previous meeting. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of 10/28/24?
Yes.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the minutes. Any discussion on the minutes? Everything look okay in those?
I had a couple of questions. On item number 8A, it gives the ARPA balance as $110,106 remaining to obligate. And then in D, it says the ARPA balance is $13,000. And then later in the town manager's report, it says we currently have 92,869, and I'm just confused about what's what.
I think in D, the 13,000 that's remaining there is an amount of money that was given to an article for tree care, and it hasn't all been spent in that. That's a balance, a remaining balance in a specific item,
Okay,
okay? Where the first number you gave, it was the overall, which is not correct anymore, that you'll see a new one tonight.
okay.
And what was the second one?
Well, so it was comparing that number, the 110,000 plus to the 92,000 plus. So that was, just, I just got lost in terms of, wait a minute, what number is what? The other question I had was on item 9D, about a select board representative for the water line replacement project review committee. Did we appoint somebody? Does that still need to happen?
We're waiting for a volunteer. There's
Oh,
only
we're
five
waiting.
of us. I thought I heard
I've
somebody.
done my volunteering.
I thought, no, I think didn't you leave a meeting and you weren't feeling well?
Yeah.
You were nominated that night.
Oh, again, another one? Oh, wonderful.
He's pulling your leg.
I know.
Do we have anybody that's, at this time, that's, would like to volunteer to do that? I'll go right down the line. Dave?
No.
Kelly?
If it was early enough in the day, I could do it. But if the meetings are after 10 o'clock, I can't.
After 10 a.m.?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if they're first thing in the morning, I can do them. I have a plate.
You want to see if you can
full.
make that happen? You want to talk to
If
people?
you
see
can, if you can make it happen, I'd be more than happy to help.
So between what hours, Kelly? Like, how early in the
I
morning?
have to be to work before 11:15.
So,
Okay, so between like 7 and 11?
4
Oh,
a.m.
I get up in the morning,
Okay.
5:30.
Oh, God.
So between 6 a.m. and 11?
Yeah, yeah.
6 a.m. and 10, I think she said.
Oh, 6 a.m. and 10 a.m.
Right, Kelly? 6 a.m. and 10, right?
Yeah.
Not 11. He
Well,
tried to get you to 11.
10:30. 10:30 at the latest.
Okay,
Now
And give me
10:30
time to
at
get to work.
10:30 you have to leave the building.
Yeah.
Okay.
okay. All right, so that's, any other questions on the minutes or discussion on the minutes? We kind of wavered a bit there.
You didn't finish going down the line,
Going down what line?
just to see what
Volunteers. I'm
Rika?
already doing solid waste management and regional and southern Windsor County. No, thank you.
Nathan?
Seems like the problem solved to me.
Thank you. That's kind of where I went.
You forgot Mike.
Yeah, I think I've got enough on my plate right now as well. Okay, anything else in the minutes? 10:28:24? Hearing none, there's a motion to approve the minutes, 10:28:24. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries, it's unanimous. Better Roads Grant, Category A application. Ray.
Good evening. This is a Better Roads grant for the state of Vermont. There's A, B, C, and D. A is for hiring engineers or people to come in and assist with the updating of the municipal roads general permit. It has to be done before 2027 by law. Instead of us doing it at the highway department, we can get a grant and hire an outside firm to come in and do it for us. Logan would like to speak as well. He is with regional planning across the street, and he's the one we're actually looking at to get to do the work for us. So if I can allow him to.
Yep. Logan, you're up.
Hello, Logan Nicole, Mountain County Regional Commission. I'm a transportation planner over there. So yeah, this is the Better Roads Cat A grants. These come around pretty rarely these days. These grants are specifically for doing what we call your road erosion inventories, your REIs. You're required to do this every 7 years or so. The last time you did them was in, I think it was 2013. I think you have a more recent past, maybe in like 2017 or 2018 probably. But regardless, you are required, we are in what VTrans and DEC are calling the second phase of MRGP, which means that they have a new process for what erosion looks like and how to score it. And so everybody in the state, every town in the state is required to complete road erosion inventory on all the segments that they have deemed as hydrologically connected by the end of October 31st, 2027. They are also, and so this grant is available right now. It opened in September. It closes at the end of December. It is first come, first served. There was about $1 million put into it. It's only been about half obligated so far, so there's still about $500,000 left. Weathersfield is eligible. It's all based on the number of hydrologically connected segments you have. So Weathersfield is eligible for a grant of $10,256. It would require a local match of $2,564. You're free to do anything you want with that money, hire somebody internally, or what you have done in the past is to hire Mark to do that work for you. And then we either do it in-house or we subcontract with an intern or something like that, or a private consultant. It's not, like the most glorious work. It's literally just walking around every segment and figuring out if there's erosion, how bad it is, and then what the solution would be. And yeah, that's basically it. Definitely here to answer any questions. The crux of it is that there is money, the state's giving you money. You have to do this work. Right now there's money, a grant that you could get to do the work. If you wait too long, there may not be money again. So that's kind of it.
Logan, before you go, the grant amount is how much?
The total grant amount is $10,256. It is, like most Better Roads grants, it is a reimbursable grant. So you do the work up front, and then so you have to kind of foot the cost, and then you bill back to the state when the work is completed.
And what is the matching amount again? 2,000 what?
$2,564.
564. Okay, that's matching.
And so it's a 20% match. I have a blank.
I could have done the math, but I did hear you say the numbers, so.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
Make sure
I have a blank form here too. I can leave with you, or and you can fill it out if you're interested. Other towns I've seen, they have done like a motion and stuff just to have that on the record if they're interested. I would say that we're sort of starting with some of our towns. We have 10 towns, Mount Escutney Regional Commission. I am the only transportation planner, so I do a lot of this work myself. We are a little short-staffed at the moment. We're in the process of hiring another assistant planner that may help me with some of this work. But in the meantime, it's mostly on in my jurisdiction, my plate. I did one town this summer, and so I have, the next few years to get through the other 9. I'm not sure where Weathersfield is going to fall in there. It's probably because you have a newer inventory than some of the other towns. Some of the other towns are even older than yours. So we'll probably do those first and then work our way to you. I don't expect to get to Weathersfield next year, for what that's worth.
Any questions from the board?
Is,
Dave,
Oh, go ahead, Rika. If you had a question, Rika, go ahead, because I've got to make a motion.
I'm just curious because I've been unfamiliar with this. Is this erosion because of a particular event or because the way the road is designed, it always erodes or?
This is the roads that the state deems as being hydrologically connected. So this is roads that are near a stream, roads that otherwise have a steep slope. This is, I mean, to go just a little bit more in depth, this is like when you see the work that Ray does, you know, putting stone and stone lining ditches, that's all work that is funded because we've identified it as having an erosion problem through this process. And then you get your Better Roads grants, your BCD grants, or your grants and aid money, your yearly grants and aid money, to do the work to fix the roads that we identify in this road erosion inventory process.
Ray,
To also add to that, it's a stormwater permit, so it basically has to be runoff, stormwater runoff. So we have a municipal roads general permit with the state, and these are the things we have to do to keep that permit.
So these are roads that are just naturally inclined to, or subject to erosion? Got it. Yep.
Dave?
I'll make a motion that we approve the grant for V-Trans for $10,256, of which $2,564 will be the town match. Allow Mount Scottney Regional Planning to facilitate this and let the town manager sign on behalf of the town.
Do I hear a second? Nathan seconded. We have a motion. Nathan was putting up his hand, so I'll go to Nathan first.
I'm just curious, is this all class, like, would class 4 roads fall under this, or those are not maintained, they aren't?
I mean, there is a process to delist class 4 roads if you don't want them included. You know, I think they can be included if you want them to. It's kind of there's a weird kind of dance and balance with this program where you want to, roads that you identify, that you inventory and that you count, that information goes to the state and you are required by your municipal roads general permit to fix so many % of your very high priority segments is how it's deemed. And so, but then it also, by inventorying them and adding them to your inventory, it opens you up to use grants and aid money or Better Roads money for those segments. So there's sort of a push-pull there of like, if a road isn't, the state hasn't decided that a road is connected, you can decide it's connected. You can ask us to help you classify it as connected, but then you're kind of on the hook for maintaining that going forward by the state. Whereas if you don't classify it, then you can use town money to fix it. You're just not going to get state money in that same way. So class 4 is typically not, but they can be, if you want. That's, you know.
There's been a couple cases in town where I have gone to them and asked them to add 2 extra segments to a hill, because to me, the water starts at the top of the hill and goes to the bottom, doesn't start in the middle, and the state stops in the middle of the hill. So if I know I have a grant and I have the money available, I will ask if I can add those 2 segments because I can fix them at the same time and not use taxpayers' dollars and use the grant. If I didn't, I'd have to draw a line and stop with the grant in the middle of the hill and then figure out how to do the rest of the hill with our own money. So it's very rare, but I have done it twice.
Yeah.
Any other questions on the motion? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries, it's unanimous. Yard sign discussion. Prior to the meeting, somebody handed me a document from VLCT, which has a Supreme Court ruling in it that basically says that you can't do this. That was news to me. But it's a free speech violation. regulate any signs without, according to this document. Without, if you regulate, you have to regulate all signs. You can't regulate based on content where it requires you to read the sign to determine whether or not, it's something that's regulated. Okay, it just, you either have to regulate signs, period. You can't regulate them for content. Once you regulate them for content, you're in violation of, and that's the Supreme Court, U.S. Supreme Court decision. And this is from VLCT, this document I gave to Rika. Rika had requested this to be on, and so I put it on. Really, I didn't know there was going to be a presentation, actually, of some kind of document, but that's okay. Brandon was just trying to be prepared. I just wanted to kind of get a feeling for where the board was at in discussing an ordinance like this. So anyway, for now, let's hold off on this. We'll get this document copied and make sure that everybody gets it so everybody can see it. And we'll pick up from there. And would you like to say something?
Yeah, just to clarify, when I brought this up with Brandon, it wasn't just about political signs. It was about, the stump grinding signs and there were a variety of signs that were suddenly cropping up around town. So it was actually not just about campaign signs, it was about signs in general. And did we have any kind of?
Yes, section 3.8.
So
8.1, 8.2, 8.3, 8.4, 8.5, 8.6, and 8.5 again. Typo, I guess, in the, covers all the sign ordinances in the town. It's in our zoning
in
bylaw.
the zoning bylaws.
Yeah, section 3.8. So we'll move that on for now, Brendan. I'll get this document. Rika, please make sure I get that back, and I'll get that
Yes.
to Brandon, and he can get that out to everybody so everybody can see what that thing says. American Rescue Plan Act funding. That you, Brandon?
Yeah, we have $92,869 remaining. Updates on current projects. So the Hoisington Field Master Plan contract has been signed. Soaring Pines project said pending in the packet, but that was signed, so that's obligated at this point. Trail inventory bids are due on 11/14. The Modine heater, we signed a purchase order with the vendor, so that's obligated. West Weathersfield Fire Station repairs, bids are due on the 21st, so we expect to have that on the select board agenda for 11/25. Office computers are obligated, police cruiser computers are obligated. Fire department training, I'm still waiting on a service order from the vendor. Tree maintenance, the award letter has been sent, and the contract has been signed. So that's just an update on everything that we're doing so far. Yep, that was. That came in under budget. So there's going to be about 3,000. I see, okay. We'll talk about that tomorrow. I put together 5 more options. We're past the point now where we can go out to bid for anything. So I'm suggesting options to pay FY25 expenses. There's also website improvements or a new website that we can look into. We advertised an RFP for website improvements. We've interviewed a couple of people, and the low bid was $7,125. That's to improve our existing website, or we can do a whole new website for $13,500. Why would we do a whole new website rather than improve our current one? Well, the price for Civic Plus is increasing. They tried to increase it this year, and we pushed back, and they settled at the $2,100. But they increased it upwards of $3,500 for FY26. If we do a new website, the company is saying that they can give us a similar website, and it will include the improvements, and the annual cost is only $810. So we'd save like $25,000 over 10 years by doing a whole new website. So those are two options. We could improve the current website, we could do a new website and save long-term, or we could do neither. Those are just two options. And then options to pay down FY25 expenses. We could pay for the annual report, which is $6,000. We could make the Golden Cross ambulance payment of $22,000. We could make 2 greater payments and pay it off, or we could make 1 greater payment, which is option 4. We could pay off the paving loan. We could make a fire truck payment, or a half a fire truck payment, or 3 trash compactor payments. Those are some options. We can do other things as well, but
Okay, Dave, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So, before you said all that, Brandon, did the highway generator payment come out, and so that is still, that 92,869 is a good number? That is minus the highway?
it is. Yep.
Okay, so you factored that in, but it's not on the list.
It should be on, you'll see the reconciliation on attachment A, highway generator, $21,750. Now, we signed off on a bill today for around $18,000. But we may include the Okay. I see. So that may,
So we still have the electrician to
Okay.
pay off.
So, no, but my question was, the balance is including that, so it's not a surprise?
Nope.
Okay.
yep, it's including that.
So, my next comment will be, I'm not interested in a website, but I am interested in, and to try to come up with some, well, obviously the trash compactor is a brand-new thing, which I'm very interested in. But I would be in favor of picking any one of these that already has money attached in the FY25 budget, because what that does is, we could then take that money and transfer it into reserves for a future decision. So, for instance, we do pay Golden Cross that amount of money every single year. Well, in the general fund FY25 budget, that money's in there somewhere.
Yep.
So, it's the same thing of what you told me that Stowe did and some other towns did with almost all of their ARPA funds.
Yep.
They paid some things, and then they bought the new board an opportunity to regroup and to spend again without giving the money back to the government. You're keeping it, rather than you cannot directly deposit into the reserve.
That's correct.
That's what we were advised. So,
The only thing I see on that one, Dave, because I don't disagree with it, I'm fine with just about any of these. But the one concern that I do have is, like you said, Golden Cross, that's every single year. That's almost like a contract labor that we know is in the budget every single year. So if we pay it with ARPA funds, next year we got to pay it out of our own pocket. Where like the trash compactor payments, fire truck payments, any of the loan payments, greater payments, any of that stuff, you're actually paying off something that reduces the tax burden.
well, but you really want to keep that money, transfer the money in the.
Yes.
It should be a motion, but it's all inclusive, so that it doesn't hang out in some surplus somewhere, and then the future board forgets it. You don't want to do that
No, I agree.
at all.
Yes, no, that's good.
So if you look at the very top one, obviously that was not budgeted in the FY25 budget.
No.
That's neither is the website, neither is the new website. The annual report is. But I know, I agree with you when you said that you don't want to do this and then have next year come and then we have to figure out how to fund it because we used free money somewhere. We don't want to do that.
No.
I'm very interested in the trash compactor. I think as we uncoil this meeting and in the last few meetings that we've heard, and the only reason that I made the motion to put on the floor, which passed, to raise the punch tickets was because we keep getting told that there's a massive deficit at the transfer station. So when you calculated this compactor payment, is this just Weathersfield's share of the payment, or is this the three towns?
So this makes 3 trash compactor payments. So what I was planning with that is for the next 3 years, we would still budget in the transfer station the amount of the compactor, but we'd budget for another line item called deficit reduction.
Let's try to answer this a little more simply. The question is,
No, you shook your head, so you know where I was.
I know exactly where I'm going. Is that total, is that the total for compactor payments, or is that just Weathersfield's portion for 3 years?
That's 3 trash compactor payments.
For the town of Weathersfield or for all?
So it's for, so the way that it would work, and that's what I was trying to explain, you would make 3 trash compactor payments, and then you'd have another line in the budget to reduce the deficit in exchange.
But that still doesn't answer the question if those are, there's 3 towns that are part of this payment, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so is that total coming, what all 3 towns would pay over the 3 years? Or is that just what Weathersfield would pay over the 3 years? And the reason I get it is, if this is the total payment, those other towns are still gonna pay us. Correct?
Well, so maybe ask the question a little different way. Did Weathersfield buy the compactor solely by itself?
Weathersfield took out a loan from its reserve accounts.
So the
Paying it
compactor
back.
is solely owned by Weathersfield?
Correct.
Okay.
Answers the question. Thank you. I'm sorry, Brent, I just.
It's okay.
No, you're on, I think we're on the same path here, and I wonder why, well, because you picked 3 of them out. So, I like, everybody knows where I'm at with the recycling, so we're already drifting into the other thing, but we have to, because if we're gonna be talking about ARPA funds. I honestly think that if we charge for recycling, well, first of all, I would like very much to know whether or not we're allowing cars to come into the recycling center without being from Weathersfield,
Yeah,
or
but,
Reading, or West Windsor.
but I don't know how much of that conversation I want to get into in regards to the ARPA funds. And I agree. We
Well,
got
but
some
because
stuff
it's
to talk
coming up,
about
it's all
here.
in one, it's the deficit. I'm trying to get to the deficit, which is,
Right.
the compactor payment is a big one. So if you divide that out, what do you have? 12,000 a year? A little bit less. That's what the cost of the compact, and how much do we owe on the compactor?
So we have payments remaining for FY '26 through FY '30. So if we make these 3 payments, there'll be 2 remaining. And basically, the same amount will still be budgeted in our fixed expenses, but that payment that we were gonna budget for would instead be expensed to the deficit, to reduce the deficit.
So you're saying an outstanding balance of 60,000,
Uh,
a little less?
Yeah, roughly.
Yeah, because you're 11, about 11.3, I think, Dave. You said 12,000, it's 36, it's 1,000 less. So, yeah, it's about 11.3
Yeah, 50.
each payment.
But the interest goes down as you pay the principal.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay. Ray, you had your hand up.
I have one question, I might be way off base on this, just going out there. You can't put money in reserve, right?
Well, you kind of,
Take ARPA money and put it directly to reserve?
no.
So how can you take, if you borrow money from your reserve, how can you pay that loan back to your reserve with ARPA money?
It's a loan.
It's not considered paying
Totally
back to
different,
your
yeah.
reserve, that's where the money's going.
No, they don't pay attention to where you got the money from. They say it's a loan. It's a loan.
It's a loan, it's a loan from the town to 3 towns.
We're paying a loan.
Yeah, I just,
So-
when you said if you borrow your own money from reserve, that means the ARPA money's going into reserve. So if it's a loan, it's a loan, we're good. That's all I have.
How would that payment, do you think, would affect the operations at the transfer station? on that far forward thinking?
So it wouldn't affect the operations at all,
No,
because
monetarily it will.
it would reduce the deficit. That's the purpose of it.
And
So
what
you'd
that-
be
Is it
creating a
growing?
new line
Is
in
the
the
deficit
budget.
growing now, still, at when the punch tickets went to 5?
And at what rate?
Yes.
How much? Is it still growing?
So, in my finance report tonight, I was going to get into that a little bit, but the punch ticket increase went into effect in October. When the select board received the information it needed to make a decision, that was, I believe it was June or July, or it was July, actually, when you guys received it.
Go August 15th.
So that was the end of FY.
September 1st.
Yep. So that was the end of FY '24, and we were ending FY '24 in a deficit of 50,000, and we had a cumulative deficit at that point in time. So now we have the cumulative deficit plus the 50,000, roughly $200,000 in the hole at the transfer station. The net position is a negative $4,000. So the reason the transfer station budget is not being presented tonight is because we still have a lot of work to do to figure out how to chip away at that cumulative deficit.
Well,
If
this goes a long way though. So, I mean, so the compactor has a lot of life. I mean, it's kind of like brand new. I mean, once we get over that, I have a suggestion, Mike. I think maybe we have another meeting on the 25th?
Yes.
I think we should pause on further ARPA, any motions tonight, and learn a little bit more about the compactor.
Because if we had to, in option number 5, couldn't we take the Golden Cross ambulance payment and add it in with the trash compactor and just pay the whole thing off? That should be enough money to pay off.
But that Golden Cross payment is a labor payment.
Yeah, but he wants to use ARPA funds. And it's already a payment anyways that we're gonna have. If we eliminate that off there and just add it into the trash compactor and
I
make
see
5
what you
payments.
mean.
Yeah.
So that way we get rid of that debt totally and then work from there.
It would reduce the deficit.
Well, that I understand, but it's,
What is the cumulative deficit that
I believe it's roughly 200,000 off the top of my head.
at the highway, at the transfer station?
Correct.
Oh, my God.
I've been saying this for years. It just keeps growing. Now, the punch ticket went into effect in October. So what I'm showing right now is revenues roughly 2% less than expenses. So I'm going to look at Q2, and if the punch ticket, since it's in Q2, that it went into effect, we believe that that will flush out. So our plan this year is to increase the permit sticker and then make a 3-year plan to reduce the deficit.
Raise the car stickers?
I think
We're
you're,
at the highest now.
I think you're right. I think as far as that part of the ARPA discussion, we need to hold off. But we could, but I don't disagree with what you came up with, Kelly. Even though I was saying I don't want to pay for that, but I think that's not necessarily a bad idea, because it pays that one, even though that's a labor thing for this 1 year, we know we're going to have it next year, we would have it anyway, but we could take the money and we could pay that deficit.
Yeah.
That's not a bad idea.
Well, she's not talking about paying Golden Cross off. She was talking about
taking that off.
adding it, keep Golden Cross paying the same way, add that amount of money to pay off the total compactor.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
I don't,
Same thing.
we don't have any presentation tonight to further discussion about solid waste?
No.
Oh. So we won't know any more information to help us make a decision on the 25th.
That's right. Plus what, I'm sorry?
On the 25th, the select board will have the solid waste budget. It's just not ready for tonight. I haven't been able to discuss it with the other 2 towns to figure out where they're at. We share it with West Windsor and Reading.
Well, let me just ask this now then in regards to the ARPA funds. What are the other things on this ARPA list that stand out to people as being the higher priority that you would want to consider or might want to consider? And that could be a rhetorical question for now. We can deal with it on the 25th, or we can kind of hash it out a little bit now and move on.
I would like to know the rationale or the functionality between the website improvement and the new website. You brought it up a few times, but I'm not sure the details behind why it's an issue.
So the website, we built the website, so we had a website in 2020. The website that we had when COVID hit wasn't able to function the way that we needed it to get communication out to the public. So we got a grant and we signed on with Civic Plus. They built out the website, but there's a lot of inconsistencies throughout the website and it needs to be improved. We've received complaints from people in the community about our current website. So we advertised an RFP to do website improvements because, quite frankly, the staff that we do have don't have the time to address the website, so we figured we'd contract it out. When we got bids back, this was the low bid, and that was for website improvements. But then we received a new bill from Civic Plus for $3,500. So in the discussions with bidders for the website improvements, we asked what their annual costs were. And this particular company said, well, actually multiple companies said around between $800 and $1,000, which was significantly less than Civic Plus. So I asked for a quote for a new website, and the low quote was the $13,500.
What is the actual functionality, though, that we're looking for in that new website? I understand the maintenance fee, right? But I'm curious the actual functionality that we're kind of going for that you get from a new website.
We're looking for it to be able to push information out to the public better and for the website to be easier to use and easier to find stuff.
And easier to update, as I
And easier
recall.
to
That
update, yeah.
At this point, there were a lot of, I remember from being on the library board that there were things that were out of date and there was nothing we could do about it at that point.
So to update the website, some of it isn't able to be updated without Civic Plus. And it takes a long time coordinating back and forth to make minor updates. So the logic with a new website would be that the back end would be easier to manage for the town. Basically, in a nutshell.
And also, it's, the new company is $810 annually?
Yeah,
As
so-
opposed to what used to be 21 is now gone to 3,500?
Correct. When we signed on to the website, we negotiated a very small increase. I believe it was 1% per year. And that was right around COVID. I think it was 2021 when we did that. And then that contract expired, and they sent us an increase because they said right now it's costing them money to manage our website. So they increased the cost to $3,500. We pushed back, and we said, no, we're not paying that this year. That's not what we budgeted. And they agreed to bring it back down to $2,100 for this year. But next year, as you'll see in the budget, it's $3,500. And so that's what prompted the conversations with the bidders that bid on the website improvements. How much would a new website be? What would be the annual cost?
You use an example of 10 years would save over $25,000.
Yes.
How long has the current website been running with the current company? Has it been 10 years?
It's been 4 years.
4 years? And prior to that was,
It was about the same amount.
okay, it was just a different company?
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions on this? Go ahead, Dave.
If you look down at the list, the annual report, the Golden Cross, anything to do with grader, paving, or fire trucks, I think that those payments would all be considered annual and reoccurring, so I'm not in favor of those anymore. If in fact we went forward with some plan to address the compactor, that still leaves $32,000 left to be grouped together. The security at Myron Hall interests me. I'm not sure if that's at the level, but I don't know about the website. The one that we have now, for me, provides enough information that I'm looking for. I think you're always going to be having persons that here at the office that are probably better equipped to post up a sign that's a posting on that says a hearing, for instance, or something. Because if you think about it, that person's going to have to contact the website designer anyway, so you're going to duplicate some things over and trip over each other. It'd be probably better to come from this office, then you would have less of a mistake. That's what I think about the list here, though.
Kelly? Why don't you give the same summation?
You want me to tell you what I think?
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna stick to my first plan. I think the 22,308 should be added to the trash compactor, get that gone. I think the 7125, I don't know if we need improvements on the website, I don't know really how that works. I'm fine with the way it is, I go on to it quite regularly and I never have a problem with it. That leaves, to me, that leaves me with money that I don't know what to do with, though. The Martin Memorial Hall security improvements, we need to do that, but I'm not sure how much, if the 20,000 is that gonna be enough? I don't know.
Or is 15,000 too much?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that stuff.
Yeah.
And we're in the process of getting a quote from VLS. The scope of work's in the packet.
But like Dave says, these other things are payments that we regularly have anyways. I think, I don't know.
Okay. Rika?
I'm frankly just trying to absorb all of this at this point. I'm not sure I have that much to contribute.
Okay. Nathan?
I haven't made a decision, but I am kind of inclined to go with that, moving that Golden Cross payment towards the compactor. If I understand it correctly, I'd like to see the mechanism that the other two towns are paying their share, which is where Dave started this conversation. I don't know, the website confuses me. Every 4 years it seems expensive. I also know from my own support of my in-laws website that modern website designs are way easier to update and save a ton of time and money because you don't have to pay anybody to do it. And I realize that functionality is just makes everybody's life better. It's just not a very exciting thing to talk about. But trash compactors aren't either, so I don't know.
So compare, help me out, Nate, so compare like Willis's website to you. Is there any way to compare this price and the thing that you get? Are you saying that you think they get a better bang for their buck doing something different, or?
I know when we upgraded, it's night and day and how much easier and how much I can do it.
Is it local? Is it far away? Or how did you come about making that happen?
Well, my brother put it. But
Okay.
it's
Yep.
neither here nor there. I just think modern website software is remarkably,
Yep.
right, because it's drag and drop.
Yep.
You just drag whatever you want in, and it uploads it. You don't have to be calling out to companies to do the security,
Right.
whatever piece. I mean, what I see in here, I mean, security is the new thing, though, right? The towns have to worry about, and that's the part for a town I don't really understand. And I would think that the state would have guidance around, what is the minimum security you have to have on a website. And that's the part I would think you'd be outsourcing. But a lot of these newer platforms they are easy, right? And what I see the most of the cost is not actually building it, but transferring the content in some organized fashion. So bringing all the policies over bring all the meeting notices over, right? That's the way I read this, and that's a big pain in the.
Minutes
Right, and
for
all-
people, yes,
right.
yes.
And so that's where I see as, if you can bring it over and organize. That's what I'm really excited to see our Ray's pictures that he can post on the highway page. But,
Even on a timely fashion, right? The minutes are required by like 5 days or something, right, to be posted?
well, based on, I would assume that that would then make your office, make it a lot easier for you to do all of that.
It would, and we currently can easily post agendas and minutes in certain news articles, but beyond that, it becomes quite complicated.
All right.
Road closure, I gotta write something up, I gotta call Brandon, I gotta talk to him or Olivia, I gotta do it ahead of time. I can't just say, the culvert will be fixed on X road, or this road is flooded, it takes a lot. And Brandon, how much is it for yearly maintenance right now, 3,500?
So it's going up to 3,500
How much
next
will
year,
your website be, you got it?
810.
So you're saving that much money a year annually.
Yeah, I think the catch though is that you're replacing it every 4 years right now, right? And that's what seems expensive to me, is that, and I get the tech changes, right? But it seems like, and the school in Springfield's having the same conversation about websites, right? It seems like all the time. So I know the tech changes. That's just what it seems to me, updating, like putting a new body on a rusted frame doesn't make a lot of sense. Because
Yep.
the tech that you'd be building it on top of is already outdated. And it's expensive to replace websites, because they're transferring so much data. So, I don't know.
Okay, my turn? So I took these numbers, the trash compactor payments, Golden Cross payment, the annual report payment, $15,000 for Martin Memorial Hall security improvements, and $13,500 for the new website, so that gets upgraded. And that comes out to $91,755 if you do those. And I suppose because the annual report's another one of those annual things that we always do, if you needed more money for the Martin Memorial stuff, once you see what's happening, you could use it there. You could take the 6,000 that would go up there with it, right? Yes, no? Can you do it that way? I mean,
So it's okay to pay, it's not going to create, it's not like by making a Golden Cross payment or making a fire truck payment, it's not going to create a gap
Right.
like it does when we use fund balance.
Correct.
What it does is it creates fund balance to be used at it.
That's what I meant. Because you'll have the fund balance of 6,000 if you pay, because you've already got it in the budget to pay that.
Yes.
Plus so now if you say you're taking it and paying it with ARPA, then the money that's in the budget is still there, $6,000. So you can use
Yes.
that as a fund balance if you needed more money on Memorial Hall security. Or you could use it, or if we've got a catastrophe with that landfill thing anyway, so, another $6,000 could go over there, I guess, if you wanted.
The only hangup would be is if Brandon can provide us with the exact number for the trash compactor, because that you might need to know. Because it's 11,600 per year. I don't know, you might want to find that out.
I mean, I can calculate it really quick if you guys.
No, I don't need to know that now, but it would be a curveball if you said, uh-oh, wait a minute, it really is, I've made a mistake, it really is 72.
No.
We have 92,869.17. My question now goes to, if we spent, and this is just for the purpose of discussion, 91,755, how would we allocate for that, the balance?
Can I make a suggestion?
Absolutely, that's why
I say the $1,114 that's left over and 17 cents, that we, give it to the food pantry and let them purchase food for people.
I don't disagree with that, but I think we're premature.
Only if
I think
it's
we should-
there.
I think we should wait until the last meeting,
Yes.
the December 20th or whatever, we're gonna have that meeting,
I'm fine with that, too.
That's-
I just wanted to, have some of this discussion.
just
so
before Christmas.
Yep.
I didn't want to wait until the 25th to have this
No,
discussion.
I didn't, I'm not
just-
not trying to put rain on that thought, I'm just saying
No,
that
I'm
I
just,
think we
if
should.
there's any left over,
I don't think tonight's the
whatever's
night to
left
go to the
over,
pen.
I think should go
Yeah.
to the food, even if it's only $400
Yeah,
or
yeah,
whatever.
I agree. I don't,
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm okay.
So that should give you some fairly,
Yeah, I-
somewhat direction of where we're headed.
I've collected enough feedback. What do we want to do with the website? Do we want to do it or not? Because we put out a bid, and we've received bids, and it's time to notify them.
Is that on the agenda to talk about later?
It's under this agenda item.
So that one particular item is it has to be resolved? You need the RFP?
That one should-
No, it's a response to the RFP.
Yeah, because they bid on the project, so they're, I don't know if like continuing to wait is, I don't know. Yeah, we can either do it or not do it. I'd like to notify the website companies that bid if they're gonna be doing the project or not.
So Brandon, my instinct is, I think that it's premature to make a decision just on the website, based on this conversation, but I guess I am, somewhat inclined to think that, it's based on what if you're gonna get the bang for your buck as far as taking things off your staff so they can do other things, I'm kind of inclined to support it myself, but I don't think I can make a decision myself tonight. And so my suggestion would be to let them know that we're gonna make a decision on the 25th, that when we can look at this. And it might be that we say, no, we can't afford it right now, but that I would be inclined to wait till we make one decision on the rest of the ARPA funds.
I was going to say the same thing. Let them, get a hold of them, let them know that, we'll make a decision on the 25th.
Okay.
I agree with you. I tend to support that too. Okay. Any further discussion on the ARPA balance, updates on current projects? We're all set there. Website improvement project, that's included. So we're all done with number 8, Bryn?
Yeah, oh, yes. Would you please propose that?
Go ahead.
So I handed out a little memo to you all, and I went over to the Old Bridge Road Cemetery with the chair of the cemetery commission. And this is a private cemetery, and she showed me the stones, which were 1700 stones, but were from the stones were from the 1700s. And they were falling over, some of them were sinking into the ground, and the reason she brought me there was that there were 3 pines. They were very large, and some of the large leaders had fallen off of it. So it was looking like it was in pretty bad disrepair over there. So there's some state statutes, one being Title 18, Chapter 121, Cemetery Preservation. This chapter contains provisions related to the preservation of cemeteries, including abandoned and neglected cemeteries. It outlines the responsibilities of municipalities and other entities in maintaining burial sites. And then below it, Chapter 18, Chapter 120, Title 18, Chapter 121, 5321, improvements of private burial grounds, duties of officers. It goes over where it possibly could, apply that, we need to assist in this situation. So the cemetery commission received 3 quotes for the large pines to be removed, and the lowest one was $8,000. The landowner was willing to put money towards the removal of the trees, but was not able to fund the whole $8,000 cost. So the cemetery commission does not have the funding either, but they are willing to help with making sure the stones are protected and, that they get propped up correctly after the fact and that everything gets brought back to its original form. So pretty much I'm coming here today to show you the pictures of trees, which are, fairly very large, And then also the stones, that, you know, these were Weathersfield residents at one time, and, you know, I was just hoping that we could bring them to dignity to their resting place. So I'm not sure what you have for budgetary abilities to cover any of the costs here. Is there anything that I can do moving forward to possibly, you know, keep this project moving? I'm just looking for some funding.
And can you elaborate on the last stone? Samuel Hatch?
So Samuel Hatch, it wasn't particularly Samuel Hatch, that's a 1780 stone, but what was mentioned that is one of the people that were actually, that came up from Connecticut, lived in Weathersfield, they were the ones that actually developed the road system in Weathersfield, so that's pretty huge. I think they have a really great spot, you can see the Connecticut River from there, and then you also can see Mascot, and I see why they chose that location for a cemetery, but sadly over, you know, all this time losing it.
So is this a request for ARPA funding?
I think this would be a good option for our funding.
Okay.
And the cemetery commission, they received 3 quotes. I did ask Chippers to give us a quote, since they're doing the rest of the tree projects, to see if it would be less. I was approached by the cemetery commission chair at the veteran ceremony on Saturday, which prompted me to request a quote. I haven't received that quote yet.
Was there any indication what the landowner was willing to contribute?
That number wasn't made exact, but it sounded like maybe half or something like that, along those lines of going in on it together.
Okay. So one more thing for us to consider between now and the 25th.
Yep.
As far as ARPA funding. I could tell. Go.
I'm confused.
Yes.
Mike Stankovich spoke with me about this, and because it's a private cemetery, I don't know who is talking about doing what, but he had concerns about public money in a private cemetery. Now, certainly there are other ways to go about this because it is private property, and that would also say that there are private family members that probably should be contacted, saying, even from the past, because things happen that way, where you have, this isn't the only place that these things exist in town. There's one up on Route 106. There are several that are not functioned by the town.
Yeah.
So he stopped and talked to me. So I don't know if everybody in the Mike is pretty high up on the food chain in the cemetery. So I'm confused about this, enough so that I wouldn't make a decision.
I've been confused about it as well until I get a copy of the statute that says municipalities have a certain amount of responsibility for private cemeteries.
That are abandoned and neglected.
And this particular one would be neglected, in my opinion, right?
Yes, and so this property has transferred hands for like 3 times in the last 2 years or so. The original owners had owned it for a long time. They didn't want to put any money towards it. They were like, if you want to pay for it on yourself, that's fine. And then the next landowners, same situation, no money to help fund the cutting of the trees to protect the stones. And this most current landowner, the commission was able to have like a good conversation with them. They really love the cemetery. They think it's wonderful, but they can't pay the full amount to, I saw one leader that was like the size of like a normal average, like 25-30-year-old tree that fell off into the cemetery. So I feel bad, more or less, is what I was just going for. They wanted me to, just present the issue and see if you guys, or if you all felt it needed to be addressed.
I want to talk to Mike again.
I'm sorry?
I want to talk to Mike again.
And I want you to talk to the landowner again and see if you can get a number.
Yeah, absolutely, and I want, Brad's gonna get that number from shippers, I'll get that, and then I'll go to them.
It's not your job to suggest what we're offering. They can watch it on the TV.
There are some other considerations here, because if we're going to start looking around at all of these and not just one, this will set a message. Then, somebody will bring up, well, the stones aren't quite refurnished or whatever. How far do we go or do we not go?
What's Mike's position with the cemeteries, Dave?
What, his position?
Is he one of the commissioners?
Yeah, he's one of the commission, and then he's also in charge of Plain Cemetery, Grout Cemetery.
Could somebody
They're
from the
doing
cemetery,
some work right now over on, near me, on all the stone walls. They hired somebody to rebuild some.
could somebody from the cemetery commission be here for that meeting?
Yeah, absolutely,
I don't know when you said all this, that they all met and whatever. I don't know some things. So,
That's fine.
Well, I agree, because if we have this responsibility, I think we should know how the state of all of them, right?
Yeah.
If we have a legal
Quite a few of them.
obligation,
yes.
then we should have
Something.
some kind of understanding of, A, where they all are, and you might know all that, I don't.
No, I wouldn't pick one off just because we got some record now of a tree falling on one, and then, because I don't know where they all are.
What I'm going to suggest is in response to what you just said, Nathan, that this might not make it through ARPA at the next meeting, but we could leave it for consideration in the budget as well as we're moving forward. If we deem that we have some sort of responsibility in regard to all of them.
Particularly if we heard that from the cemetery commission, whatever funding they have, sometimes I know this for a fact, the Plain Cemetery has a very large endowment. So I don't know about these. I don't know if we have a whole report in the town about what funding for different things are that are reserve accounts. I don't know if there's something there that this might fall into the category of transferring from a reserve, but I don't know.
We know some things and we don't know some things.
I don't know, yes.
Okay, thank you, Olivia. Okay, so that wraps up the ARPA presentation. Fiscal '26 budget. Now, I had Brendan print this for us tonight because I knew that the solid waste budget was not going to be completed for tonight, so we wouldn't have all of the budgets. And we are just now receiving them here tonight. So it's not so much that we're going to get into a line item discussion about these budgets tonight. They're basically just being presented to us, to you, to begin your review of the budget. I believe this upcoming week you have a meeting with the Budget Committee.
November 27th, so it's after the second meeting in November.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, okay. So, and then we have the solid waste will be ready at the next meeting.
Yes.
So we'll start going through an actual presentation from the town manager on the budget at the next meeting. Okay? That made it quick for the budget tonight, didn't it? We needed one of those. Does anybody want to ask any questions? Like I said, I don't want to get into any general questions are fine on the budget that you might have. Simple stuff like, what's a fund balance, audit questions, yada, yada, yada. But like I said, I don't want to get into a discussion of line items in this budget at this time. Go ahead.
Maybe this can wait, but I'm curious what kind of the highlight of what kind of major things or goals that this accomplishes before we look at,
So there's a couple of changes in the budget. Overall, you'll see a difference in taxes of $133,000. There's a few things that play into that. One, our delinquent taxes have reduced to the extent that the interest and penalty that we collect on them has drastically decreased. Back in FY '21, FY '22, I believe we had around 300 and something thousand dollars in delinquent taxes. And what happens is we collect interest and penalty on that, but we've come into agreements with most residents in town and shrunk that number to below like $10,000. So the amount of interest that we're collecting is on 10 instead of 300,000. So you'll see revenues for that decrease, which means we have to increase the property tax revenue line. So that's a major change, is a decrease in those revenues. Another increase was obviously the cost of living adjustment of 2.5%. Another increase was last year, the town voted on the special articles for social services. That was 21,000. The way that the policy reads is that they're automatically approved for a second year. So that was a special appropriation last year, and now it's in the budget, so that increased it by 21,000. Another major, sort of a change, is in land use. You'll notice there that it's increasing by 50%. That doesn't tell the whole story, though, because there's a revenue coming in of 38,000. Ryan Gumbart, we shared him with Windsor and Rockingham prior in the past, and we had Ryan Gumbart, and then we had a planning specialist. We've since changed that so that Ryan Gumbart is the only land use administrator and planning specialist in town, and his total cost of employment is more than the other employee. The other employee wasn't benefits eligible, so the total cost of that employee increased. And you can see that in the budget. Another change is an increase of a part-time police officer, but that's offset with overtime. So we've reduced overtime and then increased the part-time officer line. That budget's up 1.6% overall.
So what is the percentage of increase in this current budget, in this presentation?
5%.
And that's how many cents per 100?
It's 33,000 for each penny.
That's-
roughly.
It's 33,000 per, yes, and so how many pennies per 100? 3 cents?
My budget's about $33,000 is what, kind of $33,000 increase in my budget is 1%, my budget's 1.1, 1.2 million.
So it's 9%. It's a 9% increase in tax revenue
On the two budgets.
on the general fund. It's a 5% increase in expenses, 5% increase in revenue, but tax revenue is up 9%.
It's 4.5 cents, Mike.
Thank you, Dave.
I thought you said percent. Sorry.
No?
Cents.
And that's the general fund, Mike, and I haven't even looked at it yet.
Yep,
He lit off and said 133,000.
yeah,
Divide that by 34.
there you go. Any other questions on the budget, or any other discussion on the budget?
Yeah, so that's just the general fund. Ray, I heard you say something about the highway. Can you just highlight?
I said that in my budget, as a rule of thumb, I go by 33,000 in 1 cent.
Right.
Which you're using 34.
Yep.
So in the highway fund, are you looking at,
No, I'm not looking at anything. I'm just, as an overall, you gave a summary of what Nate asked, so that's separate budget away from highway. So in the general conversation, what about highway? Is there any equipment being thought about? Is there any labor being thought about? Is it on operations? It's a separate budget.
Yes.
no additional employee increases? We do have an employee that's retiring, so we will be hiring a replacement for that person. Overall, that budget is up 6.7%, with 3% of that in tax revenue, 2.9%, less than 1 penny.
So the net is 2.9%.
So other revenues are up 21%. So the overall budget's up 6.7%, but since other revenues are up so high, there's a smaller impact to property taxes.
Included in the budget, is there anything like paving? Is there any machinery? Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
So, 5 years ago when I took over, I said I'm going to try to level fund the budget until I figure out where the money needs to go. One of the things I really wanted to work on is capital expenses, like infrastructure, what it actually costs to maintain things, and budgeting properly so you're not borrowing money to do the work all the time. One of the things we used to do is you have a paving budget, which we didn't have, and we would borrow $200,000 to pave a section of road, and you'd pay 5 years and do nothing for maintenance, and then at the end of the 5 years, you have to pick another road and borrow the money again. So I have been working on a paving capital plan, and it just finished. I handed it to Brandon last week. I think it goes to 2038, and it shows how to increase the budget and what roads to pave, what year. So every single year, we're going to be paving, and we're going to be still focusing on trying to get grants, but it's not going to be borrowing money as much as it is having the money. So you save the interest, but you're still getting the roads paved and keeping them in good condition. So this year's budget, I'm pretty excited to have it go up to 100,000. It has been at 50,000, and we have a loan payment right now that we're paying back to ourselves, and this is the last year it's due. So next year, I want to take that 38,000 plus the interest and put it into the paving budget. So every year, you'd be able to pave. The whole plan shows an increase annually and a gradual increase to get to where we need to be able to pave and maintain our roads in good condition. Also, I have increased maintenance a little bit. Our fleet is older. We have 2 vehicles, of the 8 dump trucks, only 2 are under warranty, so the costs do go up a little bit more every year. So it's a minimal increase. I think it was 5,000. In general, I've come down a little bit in salt because we're putting out the salt better ways. We're using more efficient tools to put out the salt. So we've been able to reduce that and then increase my gravel. If you get more gravel on the road and increase the crown, then you have less washouts. Everything's connected. So I'm trying to show, I guess what I'm trying to say in a nutshell is everything is focused on like moving money. The money you save here on salt, you can spend on more gravel. And that'll pay itself back because that road's not going to wash out as easily because it's going to be crowned properly, or you can focus on ditching. You can put more ditches, more culverts. That's why my culvert budget went up a little bit. The prices went up, plus I want to buy more culverts because we're getting to the position now where we're putting them out as quick as we're buying them. 8,000 is nowhere near enough that we can put out 15 or 16, 18 culverts a year instead of the 5 we used to do. We're just getting more, we're getting better at doing it. So they're minor adjustments. I'm also really excited about the revenue. We budgeted to put 25,000 into each revenue account, each reserve account, I'm sorry. One for 25,000 for equipment and 25,000 for capital expenses. The capital expenses will help augment grants. If we have a grant to do a project, I can use that money, or if I have we have a culvert fail, something happens catastrophically and it fails, and we have to replace it in an emergency, I'll have money on hand in our reserve in the capital improvements to take out and use. That's how I feel about the budgeting in highway. So you're going to see a little bit of an increase this year over the last 5 years, but I still think we're in a really good position on the highway budget. We just need more money to keep doing more stuff, that's all. Any questions?
Any questions?
I got one for Brandon. When you said of the general fund and then it'll also be connected to the highway fund, when you said that you need 133,000 more for the general fund, and this is the first step at this, did that also factor in the FY24 fund balances? And the same question will apply to highway. So we're not ending the money, the year FY24 at zero. Obviously, it's either in the minus or the plus. So you either had to absorb some from that or assume there's a surplus.
So the FY23 audited fund balance was 86,000.
For the general fund?
We used 80,000 in FY25, so that's for this current budget, which left us with 6,700.
Okay, so you're using it all?
So in FY24, I'm estimating our fund balance to be 55,000. So in FY26, we're planning to use 40,000 in the general fund. We'll have 21,889 remaining. And the highway fund, we're planning to use 75,000 in fund balance, but 50 of that's going into reserves.
Okay, hold on. So what was the year end? You didn't say that for highway?
I'll have to tell you that.
That's okay. So it's kind of a big deal, what you just said with the general fund. I want to go backwards a second. So if you end at, I don't know, I wrote the numbers down fast because you kind of ripped them off pretty fast, 83 and then 55, but you're also asking for an additional, which I'm okay with, to use that into FY 25-26 budget. But you're asking for another 133 on top of an audited surplus. That's a pretty big jump.
No, so the audited surplus was 86,000 in FY23. We used 80,000 when we built the FY25 budget that we're currently in. So we only had $6,700 left. The FY24 estimated fund balance, which that year just ended on June 30th.
Yep.
We're estimating 55,000.
Okay.
And then we're planning to take 40,000 of that and use it in the FY26 budget, which leaves 21,000.
Okay, but when you take the 40 and you add it to the 133, which you said we need more for taxes for all the variety of different reasons, you kind of got to add that into, that's a pretty
So we used
strong hit.
We used 40,000 in FY20, 80,000 in FY25, so it created a gap. And it did the same thing in FY24 and FY23 and FY22.
So let's go, okay, I'm sure we're going to get into it when we get into the weeds later, but, I mean, another meeting. But, so for the highway, so when you made your budget between both of you, did it, in the main budget then, there'll be no separate articles that incorporated in there will be 25,000 for each reserve?
We talked about it, and I strongly feel that it should just be in the budget, and the voters approve it. If it's a separate article, sometimes it could fail, and sometimes we forget to ask for a separate article. That's happened several years. We took 75 of my fund balance. We're going to use 25 to help lower the tax need, but 50 is going directly into both of those accounts. So we're offsetting the budget with 25,000 from last year to offset a little bit to help, which is almost 1%, 0.75.
So I think we're.
I don't want to use it all, because next year we're still going to need 1.2 million to run, and then we don't have any money to inject. It's going to be a huge increase next year.
But I think we're talking about two different things. I think we should, on the agenda, I think we should be talking about the year-end surpluses, and then the board should probably address that, whether it gets adopted into the next year's budgets or transferred into the reserves, as Ray's suggesting, because that's kind of important to establish the starting point.
What do you build the percent increase off of? So that's
Yeah, because, and then into so that's a philosophical difference that the board needs to make, not the administration's, and they can provide what they think, but it's the board's job to determine what goes on the ballot. You can build it in the budget, yes, or they're out on separate articles. That's information that we'll be able to read.
Rick? Good, you-
I'm discussing the factual 2023 fund balance. I don't know what the 24 was. We can't use it if we don't know what it was. So that'd be next year's discussion. This year, we're discussing the 23 known what was left over. Correct me if I'm wrong, Brandon, but that's where I was at on it.
To a certain extent, I mean, the FY20, I do have the FY24 fund balance number for the highway fund, and so the net highway last year was, we're estimating, is 19,000. It's not audited.
Then that's kind of negligible. What's important to know for the board, I mean, the history is important here. So when you get really close, the board is saying, okay, great. But when, obviously, no one wants a deficit. No one, because that's a big problem. But if you have surpluses of 80,000, and for the general fund, it's been that way because we've been changed the policy and Brandon's gotten a little more aggressive on delinquent tax collections. That provides more revenue above, and I get it that you have less interest on delinquencies. I get that. But there comes a day of reckoning when your bills are paid, and then what the board sometimes does, and administrations are guilty of it too, is when they have extra money, they have extra things they want to do. So they spend it. So it's a really good thing to identify where those surpluses are coming from and what happened. So just because you have a budget of $1 million and then you spend 900 and you keep having a surplus of 100, that's symptomatic of either over budgeting or increase in revenue coming from somewhere that you didn't know, things like that. Maybe these ARPA funds have been a godsend. God help us all when, 2 or 3 years come from now and we don't have $800,000.
So $72,000 of that 133 came from a decrease in revenues in the general fund, an increase of the social service expenses that the voters voted on last year, and then the COLA.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Anything else from you for tonight?
If you have any more questions.
And the solid waste is the next meeting?
I'm sorry?
Solid waste, next meeting.
Yeah, we're currently studying variable revenues and expenses. So the fixed part's done, but the variable part's not.
So at the next meeting, will we have just a little block that shows us what the actual tax increase or tax, what that would look like?
I can do that.
At that, because you'll have the solid waste and have that full block. So,
Well, but-
that's just our starting point, so.
We just got told that, in a nutshell, 5.5 cents without solid waste, roughly. I mean, that's the
Yes.
starting point,
Yes.
so I don't know.
Yep. Okay. Very good. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Ray. Any other questions or on this? No? Finance report, fiscal year 25, quarter one finance report. That's you again. Good night, Ray.
So revenues in the general fund are at 26% and expenses are at 24%. It appears that revenues may fall short this year, which we just talked about. So we're noticing that even in FY25, we believe that we're going to land with a shortage of revenue. There's another reason for that, in addition to the decrease in delinquent taxes. Town clerk land records are only at 17% in Q1, and computerization is at 18%, which equates to a $2,425 shortfall. Interest on current taxes is at 13%, which equates to a $1,941 shortfall in Q1. So when you multiply that by 4 quarters, we're looking at a $17,000 shortfall in revenues, which is why we're holding that $21,000 additional in fund balance in the case that we fall short this year in the general fund because of a decrease in revenues. Town clerk revenues are down, and the reason is that mortgages are less frequent. We're having more cash buyers, which means the land records revenue is is lower. So we had budgeted 25,000 in land records revenue, and then in FY '26, we're dropping that by 5,800 to account for what we're seeing.
You mean those are the fees that people come in to pay at Floanne's office?
Yeah, typically for mortgages.
Okay. So if you look at the very first sentence you wrote, it kind of doesn't really make any sense to me, because it says revenues are at 26% and expenses are at 24%. That just lights a bell off in my head saying, okay, we're up too.
It sounds good when you look at it as simply as that, but we get a large amount of our revenues in Q1. So like, you have your current use that comes in, you have your appropriation revenue that comes in, we account for the fund balance that we budgeted for. So a large chunk of other revenue comes in. But you can also notice the revenues that aren't coming in where they should be, which is the interest revenue, the town clerk revenues.
You understand where I was going when I read the first sentence, because there's the same three of all three funds. I'm saying, well, how can this be? Because it's up 2, highway is up 6, I'm just saying, okay, things aren't back.
Yeah, in the revenues and I'll explain the revenues in the highway fund, but also in the general fund, in the highway fund, we're going over in legal expenses due to a road. And we're going like pretty significant, like substantially over. And then the survey, if we do that, that's going to add an unbudgeted expense.
So that all has to be logged procedurally, right? We may think about that. I mean, we have the rainy day fund, but for auditing and bookkeeping, you have to do what you have to do.
Yeah, which means we're running the legal expense line in the red.
Right.
And potentially contracted services in the red if we have to do the survey. So that's where we're at. In the general fund, it's not as bad as it sounds. Revenues in the highway fund are at 34%, so that sounds really high for Q1. What happened was the state sent us all 4 of our quarterly payments at once in Q1, and they did that because of the July 2023 floods. So we're not going to see any more state aid to highway come in. So there's a spike in Q1 of revenue. Expenses are at 28%, which is over, like, if you took 100 and divided by 4, you shouldn't really be at 25% because different expenses get paid in different quarters. So the reason expenses are a little bit high is because a lot of the stuff the highway department does is seasonal. So we've already paid our summer mowing contract, our roadside mowing contract. We've paid several of our loan payments. So expenses are a little bit higher than the 25% mark, but it wouldn't be really possible to be so 25%, 50%, 75%. You kind of look at when certain things are supposed to come in, and when they don't, then you can project less or more revenue. And in this case, it seems like the highway fund's in good shape overall. Revenues in the solid waste fund are at 36%, and expenses are at 27%. Fixed revenues, our permit stickers always appear higher in Q1. So it looks like we're in really, really good shape. But the reality is revenues still are not keeping up with expenses on the variable side. Since the punch ticket went into effect in October, that's not taking effect in Q1. So our variable revenues are at 24.61%. Our expenses are at 27.49%. So we expect in Q2 that since the punch ticket was increased, that it'll start flushing out throughout the year. And we'll be keeping an eye on that. Overall revenues are at 36% and expenses are at 26%. in the transfer station.
Do you track, who's in charge of the finances of the solid waste? You?
Yeah.
Is there a way to track monthly, the effect of the price increase of the punch tickets?
Yes, and we do that every single month.
Okay.
So we have a tracker going all the way back to I think we went back to FY10, because we were interested to see, the transfer station's been either operating in the red or operating in the green 50% of the time since it opened. There were times where it ended the year with a $75,000 deficit. Sometimes, so it's never been something that broke even at the end of the year like it should be. So each year we're trying to get closer and closer, and I think we're getting there.
Here's another suggestion. Now, and this is where I was going, I don't even know, like a half an hour ago when we were talking about solid waste. I've been told by several people that people are advising, just go to the Weathersfield transfer station, you can get rid of recyclables for free.
Yeah.
They're doing that without a sticker. They're doing that with just like a car, that whatever, if they're a visitor or whatever. Okay, I think that's got to stop. I think we've got to be able to, I don't know how, but it's come to our table before to put charges on recyclables. I'm never going to go down that road because I think it defeats, including with myself, it defeats the purpose of recycling, for me. And I believe that completely. Having said that, it's $5,000 to $6,000 a month that it costs Weathersfield to disperse its recyclables. I'm not even on any committee. I just do the senior reports. $65,000 we're being charged to dispose of recyclables.
Yep, that's correct.
So that service, if you think about it, if we can somehow figure out, if that's true, what I said about others coming in, would be reduced, and that would also help significantly the flow of money going to the expense side by reducing those recyclables on non-residents.
I'm not aware of anybody coming into the transfer station without a sticker. You guys are seeing that?
I'm hearing people advising people to do that. And, that's not, I don't
Haven't
need to
seen
accuse
that.
anybody, because the theory is true. We want people to recycle. We do. So if you have like a bag full of things or whatever, and you don't want it to be on the side of the road, obviously, when you see a service saying that it's recycling, you're going to go do that.
So at the Springfield transfer station, which is the transfer station that I use, they also accept recycling for free. But the difference between our transfer station and theirs is they budget for a deficit each year in their general fund. So every year, if they fall in the red, they just transfer it from the general fund, because it's not just our transfer station that's ending in the red. It's just our transfer station. We're not addressing the deficit.
So what would be Weathersfield's share of the $65,000? Would it be 60%? Probably, between the three towns?
200,000.
200 what? No, it's not that high, because the total is 65. So,
Well, the cumulative.
Yeah.
no, the cumulative is 65. That's the cost of recycling for the entire transfer station. So Weathersfield's share would be approximately, probably 60%, be 38,000.
Just for the year?
So I'm trying to get to, when you just said that Springfield is addressing it through their general fund, my mind completely goes to how much is that going to cost the taxpayers? It's going to be $0.015.
54% of our fixed expenses, so it would be
1 penny,
54%, 65. Yeah.
1 cent, to go into the general fund to say that we're absorbing that for recycling costs at the transfer station for Weathersfield. I'm telling you, I'm about ready to climb on that theory, because I'm not going to climb on raising the sticker prices for the cars.
Yeah, it's going to be, However we structure it, we just have to address it.
Yeah.
I know you guys are probably tired of me saying
No.
this, but it's been every year.
No,
since-
because we need to figure it out. Put your pants on and figure it out. No?
I do have a question, though. Dave, you made a statement that I agree with, and that is that we all feel the same way about recycling, that, we want to recycle. Well, how many other people feel that way? Because if recycling is the thing that we recognize that we need to do for the good of what, planet, landfills, ecosystem, whatever it is, then people are going to do it. And we have to pay to get rid of it. We used to make money on it. We don't.
That's what happened in 2019.
It all changed.
The national sword policy in China, they stopped accepting our recycling because it was so contaminated.
It wasn't us.
No.
We didn't do anything, but we have to pay for it. And we've been doing that, and we're in the hole. And I
don't want to make work for the transfer station attendants. And I think that's where this is going. But
No,
we're already charging everybody for a sticker, and everybody doesn't go to the transfer station.
I think your punch ticket could come down if you charge for recycling. And it's a use, and you pay to use it.
I understand what you're saying. I don't agree with it because it would make me lazy. And to answer your question, when I go to the school, because I'm just going to balance this off, I'm going to say, if you're going to charge me $3 or whatever it is for a recycling ticket, and it's $5 for trash, I'm just having one for trash at $5.
I'm not sure that that's going to happen, Dave, because I
Me. I'm
huh?
just telling you with me.
I think there are some people that are lazy. I might be one of them. But I think overall, people are concerned about the planet and the health of the, this rock we're
I
flying
agree.
on.
I agree. But the separation of products needs to happen. I think
It does.
Sean Whalen is right on the path. I'm agreeing with him when he said at the town meeting that the zero sort, we've been led down that. Because what happens with zero sort? It goes over to a facility that they separate it out and they make money on that. They do. So we've been sold that theory about, hey, for easy, for people that are lazy, like me, you're going to all throw it in one big bin and then dump it in all together, plastic, whatever. That boggles my mind. Any type of ag plastic and these kind of things, these white sausage, the bales you see on the side of the road, the big marshmallows, that plastic can't be recycled. It's
No.
going in the Coventry landfill because that's the only one that's open. Ridiculous. To answer your question about what happens with recycling is people need to be buying things that are recyclable, whatever the container. I don't know what it is. That's the truth.
Well, right, and we probably need to limit the plastics,
Yes,
right?
yes,
So they are recyclable.
yes. Even the little bags, no, they won't accept them.
How would we do that without incurring a cost to do it?
I think that's about us, the state.
I think what's happened, who was the paper plant in Putney shut down? I think what's happening is they used to make all kinds of ground cardboard and take newspaper and grind it all up to make into another product. Used to use it for bedding for cows, mix it in with sawdust. The monetary thing there is not available for them. Somebody could make a pretty good living at figuring out how they can recycle plastic, I'll tell you that, somehow.
I'll tell you frankly, what I'm learning about recycling is how little of this stuff can actually be reprocessed into
Right.
anything. And I'm at the point where I'm so
Yeah, I know,
annoyed,
yeah.
shall we say, that I'm thinking we should be getting balers or something like that and filling tractor trailers and delivering this stuff to the front yards of the CEOs and saying, look, why should we be bearing the cost of this stuff that you guys are making? And, the whole business of recycling is a myth. It's a total myth that the petro industry has foisted up on us so that we, the homeowners, the regular people, feel like, oh, it's our responsibility. But we're dealing with stuff that can't be recycled.
But
You
we
know,
used to
plastic,
ba-
some
we-
stuff can be made into Trex, but it's like, that much
We used to
of it.
bail here, and the problem is you always get into the labor. Like if we had 2 more men at the transfer station, we had a baler, we baled cardboard and newspaper, big machine, put it together in a square block. We'd get one of the highway trucks, go to Putney Paper.
One of the things we talked about at one of our district meetings was the need for getting more volunteers. Most landfill transfer stations, have some volunteers who are just dedicated people who feel that this is important. And, nobody can afford to have, paid personnel to do all the work that needs to happen. I think one of the things we can look at, and Springfield also, Springfield has a small cadre of volunteers who do everything from checking whether you've got your sticker when you come in, or, working at the swap shop or whatever. They're not paid personnel, but they manage to, facilitate that whole process. So, I think that's an avenue also that we can look at, but
We used to have, when Norm Abbott and Clem Pelletier were operating, the 2 guys that were there for 30, 40 years, when we had the actual landfill, they were allowed to, and maybe this is part of the answer, volunteers are great, and I don't know that we're going to get anybody, because everybody's busy and their life marches on.
Couldn't get an employee.
So what happened back in the day, though, at that time was when they had an area where they sorted off some things where people came in. Batteries, anything that was recoverable, steel, all the 5-cent cans, anything that would be easy for the persons to come in and then put in a place. And then those 2 guys got the money. We looked the other way as a town. That might be part of the answer, to have a separate bin or 2 or 3 where you've got some areas where, and now we're doing it with the steel. American Recycling comes in with the steel, and all of us can put steel in there. And we actually get money for it. They give us the compactor of the container for free, and then they call up, take it away, and they give us money, $100 a ton.
Not necessarily a bad idea, but with the times, the way they have changed, my concern would be the first time a battery blows up and,
Yeah, somebody get hurt.
or somebody gets burnt or is hurt, dealing with that stuff, or somebody else, if they're transporting that stuff to get their money.
Yeah.
And there's an accident and we could be in a mess.
Well, those guys wouldn't do it back in the day,
No, I know,
Well,
times
farmers.
changed, that's,
or get hurt on the job, or what, and didn't do it.
no.
Another problem with our recycling is that since we don't sort everything like they do in Springfield, a lot of it's just contaminated.
Because we're zero sort, is that what you mean?
Yes. People are just dumping whatever into the recycling, and they think
because it's free.
because it's free. So we're seeing a lot of trash go into the recycling, and when that happens, it contaminates the entire load. This is why China stopped accepting our recycling to begin with as a country. We just don't recycle
Properly.
in a proper manner. So what was happening is China was just getting a bunch of trash, and they just had enough of it because it was piling up in China.
And we were talking at the last meeting that even with C&D, construction and demo, people throw a couch in. It's not construction and demo. But there's nobody there to say, sorry, you can't do that. That's not.
Tyler has moved down to that level to keep an eye on that stuff. But I'm not sure there's another problem on the top side now. I've talked
Well,
about
you've
this.
got basically 4 or 5 stations. You've got your C&D, you've got the metals, you've got the recycling, and you've got the trash. That's not including your white metals and electronics and all of that stuff, which is fairly easy to distinguish even from a distance. But we've got 2 people.
I know.
They can't possibly watch all 4 of those. And you're dealing with somebody who's got, they're dealing with a specific issue or question. You can't see what's going on. Somebody else goes or runs.
And
does
you
run around.
literally have enough room for 3 cars to drive through at the same time.
Yeah,
And you have
At the
hundreds of
top.
people coming through, and you have 2 part-time employees. We're just seeing, it's quite difficult, and we don't have a scale.
Well,
So-
yeah, I know one thing. I mean, Mike put out a survey thing, and the number one thing was for Weathersfield to have a transfer station.
That's true. That's true. The people want the
It was
transfer station.
overwhelming response.
But if they want the transfer station, then they gotta be willing to support it and pay for it too.
So, I'm gonna suggest we're probably not gonna solve this right
No,
now.
thank you. Yep.
I mean, I think it's important.
It's a large discussion. We've got a good, but that budget's coming in at the next one, and I think we're gonna be dealing with this quite some time. Thank you, Nathan. 1879 schoolhouse policy. Do you want to go into this tonight, or you want to kick this down the road? These were things that we put on the agenda to try to start picking away at the future agenda items list. That was the reason for that. If you want to do it, I'm fine.
Olivia, have you, sorry, Nate, go ahead.
No.
Okay. I thought you were,
I was just going to say, FYI, I did get the rental prices for what the church charges, the center church charges for different organizations, and I can email that to you if you want. It doesn't
okay.
have to be part of the general discussion tonight.
Could you tell us what those
Yeah.
numbers are?
So for an out-of-town nonprofit, there's a non-refundable deposit of $100, and then there's a cleaning damage charge of $200, which is refundable. So basically, you've got $100 if you keep, if you behave well. For a community nonprofit, it's a $50 non-refundable to hold your thing, and a $200 cleaning fee. And then there are times when, you have a wedding and they maybe use the sanctuary upstairs. It's $250 to rent the upstairs. If you have a reception downstairs, that's $350. If you do both of them, they charge $500. And again, there's a cleaning and damage charge, which is refundable of $200. So.
And that building is significantally larger than the 1879 school.
Yes, and it has a, downstairs, it does have a kitchen, so, but I'm happy to write that up and send it out if you want it in.
And we're talking about, like at the 1879 schoolhouse, just one room about this size. Just to give everyone perspective.
Yeah, I think it's a little smaller.
Yeah.
A little bit smaller.
I think the key would be renting for what, for one day or one event, or, whatever. So is it consistently rented to the same entity? I think that matters. Obviously, I don't think we want any storage in there from I don't know that, but I'm just saying, you don't want to make it so that somebody will leave things behind. I know when the school closed down, that there was a lot of stuff that was found. So that's kind of important. What determines what rent and what things are allowed in there? If somebody brings some things too. I don't-
Olivia,
Well, there isn't very much storage space.
no, there's only a couple of small closets. I
don't think there's even a coat rack down there.
Did you do some research as well?
Yes, the church in Perkinsville, he actually doesn't, so people are doing yoga or Tai Chi, those type of situations, he will not even rent out to them because it's not worth the hassle with his reasoning were, but for renting it, it's by the hour, and they do like a 2-hour minimum, and it's a few $100s, and then there's like a cleaning charge. It was very expensive, I was surprised, and then I called the community centers, and they're like a by the hour situation, and it's, a few $100. So it's very expensive out there to rent, and a lot of places won't even rent to people that are trying to make a profit.
Yeah, and the way the church dealt with the yoga class was they basically did not charge her. she doesn't bring in that much from Rio with that.
Oh, that,
The center church.
yeah.
So she makes a donation for the use of the space, but there was no official charge for that.
And there's not a lot of birthday requests for rental, like, it's more largely over here because there's a kitchen for the different, like, ceremonies and stuff that's going on. Honestly, it's a lot of committees, commissions, and, you know, nonprofits. per se, that
Meetings
wanna
kind of
utilize
stuff,
it.
yeah.
It's not as much of a birthday place.
Although I had a
Those
great
things are
birthday
happening,
party.
You did good.
and those things are happening already now anyway, right?
Yeah.
The biggest difference is so the trustees control this building. The 1879 building doesn't have a board of trustees, doesn't have anything, has the town manager.
So the select board ultimately controls this building. It receives recommendations from the trustees.
The way the new thing is set up, because I don't know nothing about it. I mean, I don't have a rental schedule.
So there's no, in the deed, that's the opinion that town council gave. The trustees make recommendations to the select board.
Yeah, but we don't hear about when the rents come up here.
No, that's handled upstairs in the office. And through the budget.
No, I
The
meant
policy's written.
day-to-day use, like if I'm going to have a birthday party down here for you,
Yes,
I never, there wasn't select board
that's
approved.
correct. That's correct. It's
Select
handled
board.
upstairs.
I thought it was handled by the board of trustees of Martin Hall.
The select board adopted the policy that governs what can and cannot be done down here. The trustees each year are supposed to propose rental fees to the select board, and the select board sets the rental fees.
Who runs the schedule of, if I call up and say Sunday afternoon, I want to rent this, who do you call?
Olivia, or the front office.
Yeah, but she's a trustee.
She's a trustee right now, yes, but even if she wasn't, it's all handled.
I didn't know that in the past, because I remember lots of trustees, and Lynn Houghton or Patty Harrison, I think was one, or they would get together, the three groups of them, and they would say, okay, we're going to rent Martin Hall. People would call them, and they'd say yes.
And that turned into a audit issue with the handling of the money. And that changed when we adopted the last policy, correct?
Yeah, and now residents just fill out an application. The front office gets the application. They review it against the policy. If it meets the policy, they approve it. I sign off on the approval of the application. They give a $100 refundable security deposit, and then it's $50.
What would be different than the 1879 then?
This building's a little different because you get a full kitchen.
So you don't feel any different with the policy, because this was gifted to the town from Clarence Martin. There's a lot of strings on it. Can't have a school function in here.
Yep.
A little weird.
There's one
Oh, yeah, really.
So there's a Tai
Be
Chi
careful what
class
you wish for.
that's utilizing the Eaton's schoolhouse right now. We're not charging them anything because we don't have a policy set up where we would, charge them for $10 or $20 to hold a class. We don't have that broken down. And as of right now, other than a couple birthday situations, largely it's just committees, commissions, and just public groups that are
So
there.
are we responsible if they do damage to that new floor and stuff? Are we financially responsible for that even if they are using it?
There's no security deposit as of right now, so yes, it would just fall on us for say they broke a window or something
Yeah.
like that.
See, so I think you're right, Dave. I think most of the policy would mirror what's going on over here. I think the question is, what's the rent or deposit going to be?
And I mean, we have, like, bone builders come down here twice a week, right?
Correct, and we have a Tai Chi class that's coming here as well, but those are all great, that's the issue. We don't have any situations where people are charging a fee or taking in money here for the group.
So that's the difference between what we have at the 1879 schoolhouse, where
They're charging.
Right.
They're not going to charge that here? Tai Chi's coming here, but they're not going to charge?
Correct, it's a
Free.
different group and it's free through senior citizens.
You have, in the yoga class, for example, it's, what is it, it's $10 a class, if you sign up for the whole class. 12 people, that's $120 per class, and then you charge $100 room rental, you know, it's,
Until the-
What's the level of usage, rental usage you'd expect to see over there, you think? Is it very high?
No, so like last year there was 2 birthdays all over there.
Okay. And most of what's going on over there right now is happening anyway, and it's
It's
happening
going
for nothing.
very smoothly over there, yeah. Solar, AA, Parks and Recreation, Conservation, there's quite a few different committees and commissions.
But a committee is way different than renting for a private use, to me. Way different. A committee is a town function, fine, knock yourself out. Just like this board, we're not paying a fee here for this. We're not even talking about that. We're talking about outside rentals. It means it has to be locked up and unlocked. Somebody's got to do that.
Do we fully heat that place year-round, or do they control the heat when they go in there?
They do, so they.
So they
turn
can,
it
so
up a
they can
little
turn
bit.
it up, yeah, yeah.
So we pay for the heating of the building, for the food shelf and the other room. So
Yeah.
that's for 1 and 2.
Do we have an annual cost on this that would represent the operation of the building
Yes.
based on what you just got done saying, electricity, heat, cleaning?
Maybe we should rent it out to a third party for the office.
I tried to before we even owned it. You didn't second my motion.
I don't think I was there.
Yeah, okay.
So the building's for around 13K a year.
13,000?
Yep. And what creates that 13,000 is 1,750 in electricity, 1,200 in telephone and internet, 3,000 in fuel, 1,200 in custodial services,
3,000 in fuel?
3,500 in maintenance and repairs, 2,750 in renovations.
It's an old building.
get some heat pumps and do some.
That's like 1,000 gallons of oil. I only burn 100 and 200
Well, we get the
all
oil
year.
discount, so.
But all the windows
than
are new in it, it should be
We
fairly,
have a wood stove.
It's an old building, so the heat escapes. It's not fully insulated. It's a brick building.
So think about where you want to be on fees for this, that are fair, I guess, to everybody. That includes the people that are currently paying for that building to sit there.
So even at Martin Memorial Hall, for example, we only collect, what, $800 to $1,000 a year in rental revenue? So we're not looking at a substantial revenue line for the schoolhouse or for this building.
No, but I do think there is maybe some, maybe we ought to be thinking about, like cleaning deposits when people.
Yeah.
Right. I
Absolutely.
think that would be a reasonable ask.
$25.
Cleaning deposit. They're refundable, right? Like, that's how it works. If you live.
Oh, then you might as well make it 50. It's refundable. Or even 100. It's refundable.
Well, it's here, it's 100, right?
Yep.
And up at the church, it's 200, and it's cleaning and or damage.
So would you be charging this if you're yoga, or is that a non, what
I don't know that that Lisa does, it cleans it afterwards, sweeping it. I don't know how that is done, I'd have to check. But, I mean, we all leave our shoes in the vestibule and not very much cleaned up.
Okay. That enough on this for tonight, for right now? Everybody?
yep.
So in the next policy, I don't think we actually have the fees identified in the Martin Memorial Hall policy because they're set annually within the application. So I think the policy and the application and the fees are separate.
Okay.
Because if you put the fees inside the policy, you would have to revise the policy every time you did a fee adjustment.
So do you want to consider this a first reading? Is that where you're going? Or is it still a draft?
You better put it on the agenda as a first reading.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Technical.
right, so it's still a draft then.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dave.
Like when the select board sets the transfer station fees in July each year, the tax rate, it's supposed to also do the Martin Memorial Hall fees. And if we put the fees inside the policy, it would require 3 readings every time. It would take
Yeah.
months
Yeah. No,
to set a fee.
No, I'm okay with that.
But couldn't you set this one as a fraction of Martin Memorial Hall?
Yes.
You know, what I'm hearing is it's like half the space, or like you could set it as a fraction, then when you accepted Martin Memorials, it would set this one by default.
Does it need to have board approval, or can it just be an administrative move?
I can't set fees legally, but the select board has to.
Can't or won't?
That was good out. It's a good attempt at an out.
He's laughing, it means
I
he
know, that
can.
means he won't, that's exactly right.
The select board sets fees, it sets the tax rate. They try to give you all the
I
information.
see some feathers.
Okay, so we're done with this draft for tonight. I think you've got lots more information to mull over.
I do have just one question so that we can have a first reading. Are we going to allow the use of the space to for-profit entities or not? So I think that's going to factor into,
We're gonna use it for, say that again?
are we going to allow the rental of the building or the use of the building to for-profit entities? Because that's going to change the way that we write the policy
I think it also changes the fee structure too.
and the fee structure. So that's kind of why this has been an ongoing thing, is because we haven't decided that yet.
This building you can use for profit?
I don't think it's stipulated in the policy. We haven't come across that issue.
I mean, for example, if you had a contra dance here, right? And you charged the door to pay the musician, would that be?
Is it an allowable use of the space per the policy? I'd have to check the policy.
Well, what if they had a craft fair like they've had it here in the past? They're making money from selling a table to whoever. So is that not,
And the vendors are making money selling their product.
yeah,
That's for profit.
yeah. Because I know they've had them here before, that's the only reason why.
And we did it at the Hoisington Field.
But not inside the building.
No, outside in the field, but it's still town property.
I think it'd be nice to have a structure though, that like somebody that wants to get, or do yoga classes or a Tai Chi that's, I think, because those aren't like hard on the building, like they're bringing in yoga mats. It's not like a huge wear and tear situation, and it's giving outlets to Weathersfield residents for, exercise and stuff.
You gotta pay attention to the deeds, okay? Like it does say in the Martin Hall deed here that you can't have any school functions.
Yeah.
I don't know why they accepted it with that condition. You just piqued my interest by having things maybe or maybe not as acceptable at Hoisington Field. The Hoisington Field was a gift from the Barr family to the school, and the school transferred it to the town on a floor vote at the town meeting. But it says in clear, I've seen the deed 100 times, it says, for recreation purposes only.
That's correct. I've seen it.
So I don't know if we're going to be going down the road of, if we're going to have events that make money, that's got nothing to do with the 1879 building, I'm talking about the field.
Yep.
So you can't have like something with where you're going to charge, and technically, you've got gate fees, and you hire somebody, and all of a sudden, you're more of a business. I don't know. I don't know the answer. I know what's in the deeds.
That's a good point.
Okay. All right, let's move on.
We're going to propose a fee structure, and we can go from there.
Thank you. Town manager update. You have 50 seconds.
We'll give you a minute.
All right, fire department committee meeting was rescheduled until tomorrow. We already talked about that. Yeah, 6:30 PM, 7 o'clock PM. We had to change the time a little bit later.
Which
Is
is
that
it?
down here?
Yeah.
Which is it?
Huh? It's 7 o'clock
37,
PM.
no.
Yep.
Okay.
But the secret meeting starts at 6:30
Okay.
PM. No, I'm just kidding.
So that means you can show up at 7:15 and it's still kind of going underway with the
Yep.
time change here? There's a time change, huh?
Yeah, but you're going to miss the secret meeting at
Okay.
6:30.
Okay.
There's no, anyways, just another reminder about those 30,000 in local economic recovery funds. We still do have that to discuss and determine what to do with. Our next select board meeting is Monday, November 25th. There's a budget committee on November 27th at 6:30 PM. We've had continued issues on Old Bull Road. I sent all of you some information. We're actively addressing it. It's
Just the one time, right, you sent, not recently?
there was that issue, and then there was another issue that would require an executive session, legal.
No, I meant, when you just said that you sent some out, that was one time you sent, but it was a while ago. Is that what you meant by that, or no?
That's one of a couple.
The only one I've gotten.
Oh,
Well, there's a prudential committee meeting tomorrow, and I'll have Kelly, next Wednesday, and I'll have Kelly on for appointment to the project review committee. We're still looking for 2 more people in the public that'd be interested in being on that committee.
What is the water.
That's the water district.
Well,
So
we
the-
didn't want to be
You
on.
sounded very excited about it. Now you're having buyer's remorse all of a sudden.
Yeah. The water district is its own municipality within the boundaries of Weathersfield, governed by a prudential committee, which is similar to a select board. They just call it the prudential committee.
it will be very wet, hopefully. They'll have lots of water.
That's all I have.
That's all you have?
Oh, in regard to the capital plan, I'm unsure if we're going to get that done for this budget season because of everything that's been going on. I haven't had much time to focus on it.
Yeah, so the amount of time taken by Bow Road has been excruciating.
So I have a suggestion for that, though, and we heard a little bit from Ray, so long as, I think that he said, located in the 26 highway budget, there was a certain amount that we put into the budget, not a special article, but to go to a reserve or something.
Yeah, 50,000 will still go into those reserves.
But there's 2, right? There's wheels and then there's non-wheels.
Yeah, 25 in each.
Okay.
Good. Okay.
The thing with the capital plan is when we present it, if the select board decides to release it to the voters to be presented, I want it to be a strong plan. And right now, I have an Excel document with the capital plan, but there's no written narrative. And I just don't see there being time to write a solid plan before town meeting. Well, before we need to release the articles for town meeting.
I just meant that I agree with Ray when he said that you just don't want everything to fall on you at once. And I know that we lowered the Wheels Fund by purchasing something a year ago. So you want, which is good, so you want to make sure that there's something going in rather than having nothing.
Yeah,
Even though we're not going to buy, or, I guess, right, allegedly, we're not going to buy anything? There's nothing there's nothing to be purchased this year? Not a pickup, no fire, no highway, nothing?
See, that's sort of a good thing. We have 3 new cruisers, so they're not due for a while. We don't have a fire truck due for a while. Next year, I think we have a piece of highway equipment due. But I think we have time for the capital plan to go into effect. But the longer you wait, the more it increases the annual cost.
I didn't mean to put pressure on you, because I agree with Mike. I mean, you've got plenty of things to be doing here, but I just didn't want to, in the budget process, I just didn't want to have the 0, which I guess we're not.
There's definitely no shortage of work.
That it for the update?
That's it.
Okay, future agenda items. You see, we picked a few of those off tonight. As we set the agendas and I look at them and they're not terribly overburdened, we'll try to move into some of these other ones. Is any of this, are they in any kind, they're not necessarily in any order. How does the board feel about any of those? Is there anything there that is a higher priority to you? Conduct of meetings, hearings, personnel policy, purchasing policy, as opposed to naming waterways or Meadow Lane? Naming waterways,
Meadow Lane, we're waiting on.
yeah.
We don't have a
Yeah,
petition.
that's
that I
correct,
know.
that's correct.
We do not.
We don't have a what?
Petition,
We're waiting on,
Didn't we get a letter, though?
we did.
So did it ask to do something?
We asked for something.
Oh, we asked back for something? I don't know. Where is it left?
Petition.
Oh, we
In their
asked for a
hands.
petition?
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't know that.
no, it's in their hands now.
Oh,
It'd be great to be able to tackle a bunch of roads at once, but I think one road at a time.
I've only heard
We
that
started
about
with the
6
wrong
times in the
one.
last 3 days. Okay, appointments, we have no appointments. Approve the warrant, do I hear a motion to approve approve the warrants? I had to check my agenda. Motion to approve the warrants?
Yes. General fund, payroll, $18,082.45. Operating expenses, $37,197.48. Highway fund, payroll, $5,169.79. Operating expenses, $22,695.64. Solid waste, payroll, $1,929.58. Operating expenses, $39,042.03. Library payroll, $2,472.49. ARPA funds, operating expenses, $19,710.40. Grants, $221.96. FEMA, $108. E-checks, $30,591. For a total of that little category for operating expenses, $50,631.36. Grand totals for payroll, $27,654.31. Grand totals for operating expenses, $149,566.51.
Do I hear a second?
yep.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion on the warrants.
Yes, I got one question.
One.
Well, it's one that's considering of 9 on, what is in the general fund, the competent CCI managed services?
So that's our IT managed services contract that manages all of our computers in town.
For 9, he sent us 9 different bills?
Yeah, and that's changing. That's actually another big change in the budget next year. So if you go into the budget, we created this shared services department.
Yeah, I just needed to know what it was.
So
You don't have to go into detail.
in FY '26, you'll see all of that combined into one account, because right now AP is having to take one bill and split it out between all the departments, which is not efficient, so we're gonna just put it all into one line item.
I mean, like a highway computer and
Yeah.
repair, what would be separate?
Highway and the general fund will still be separate, because they're separate funds, but like within the general fund, you have 11 departments, all have to have computers. So we get this like bill for, $2,000, and then we split it 11 different ways and do journal entries, or she, like you see on the warrant, she types all that. She breaks it all out manually, but it's just one bill.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I did, more- and then some.
So just somebody writes 9 checks.
We're good.
right?
That's exactly, yeah.
What is e-checks for 30 grand?
So e-checks, e-checks are all of our ACH payments. So those are like our FICA payment, like it's all of our payroll taxes. And those go out automatically, consistent with payroll.
It's like paying your bills online.
See, this is something that wasn't shown on the warrants in the past, And just recently, we decided to put those on the warrants.
But what were they made out for? They're just like blank checks going to somebody?
No, like, you have all your payroll taxes and like
It's not a very good description.
the
here on
child
the
care
warrant.
contribution
But
tax for.
all I'm saying is, there's not a very good description here on the warrant when you see that.
Okay.
We used to see that before, so if it was, you get that for a child or whatever, some of the
Isn't that
tax.
individual in the,
It's on the warrant.
yeah, they're individuals, but it's just one.
See if I can find it here.
I know, but when you read the motion,
Oh.
you said e-checks.
Oh, that's what it said.
30,581.
That's what they are.
But if you're saying that they're in the regular general fund anyway, why would it be done twice? Why would it be done outside in a separate?
Because payroll goes out before the select board approves it, so I approve payroll. And when I do that, it also releases all the payroll taxes. And those are through ACH.
No, I'm understanding that part. I'm just talking about identifying where that is under, when Kelly read the motion about where the location was. That's all.
Okay. I'll see if we can make it more transparent for the next warrant.
Any other discussion on the warrants? Hearing none, motion to approve the warrants dated 11/7 to 11/7. That's good. Motion to approve the warrants. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 5-0.
I have the answer for you, Brandon, right now. I think all of those e-checks, should, because they're probably a cumulative total of all three funds probably, I would put them in that. I would say either put them under payroll, that's where they belong, if in fact it is for individuals as part of payroll, because it's not really an operating expense. It's not like a vendor check.
So like, it's also retirement, so you'll see like everything payroll transfers. Those are all,
I've never seen it before.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just,
That you just started doing it.
it's just coming out a different way. Same thing, but different. Any other business? I have, for the most part, completed the decision on Old Bow as far as I can. The only thing I have left to do is to enter lists such as who was here, who was sworn in, testimony that was received, those types of things. I'm down to the point where I've started creating findings of facts, conclusions of law, but those are also things that you need to participate in for anything I might have missed. And then we issue a decision based on conclusions of law. That will require us to get together. So we are ready to get together when you want to do it. It's got to be done before the 24th.
22nd,
22nd.
I believe 7.
So either sometime later this week or early next week. And I'm figuring maybe, I'd like to think we could do it in an hour, but I think realistically, an hour and a half, 2 at the most. We don't need to write anything in that meeting, only, I'll take notes on what you want me to add. I'll just have the draft of what I've got, and it'll just be a matter of going through that. That'll take about 15 minutes, and then it's, because I'll enter those things that need to be entered. I already have that stuff. And then anything that you consider evidence or discussion, we can only discuss any evidence that we've received. We can't really go outside of that. Well, we can't go outside of that. But anyway, yeah, 15 minutes to get me through, get you through what I've got written so far, and then figure out what you want to add that you feel is important to the case, and then make a decision. That's what we've got left, so I need some time.
Let's see what these busy people have available first.
Well, next Thursday is off. Is that a good question for me?
Okay.
Meaning the 14th or the 21st?
The 21st. That's kind of close to anyway.
Yeah, that's getting out there a little bit. Yeah, that's like the last day. Is there anything,
My schedule is really pretty open.
is there anything this week that works?
I can't do Thursday.
Does it have to get in the hands of whoever, all of those persons that are interested by the 22nd?
Yes, it has to be, we have to issue the decision.
Oh, and be in the mail, certified.
By the 22nd.
Has to be dated. the
So
22nd.
print it out, all researched by you or council or somebody by the 22nd.
And I would,
I could do it tomorrow or Friday, I just don't like you. Depends on when on Friday.
don't worry, I won't either.
I'll do,
We don't have,
I'll
can we
do,
meet earlier than this?
whatever works for you guys. I'm self-employed, I can be there anytime.
Yep, I'm free
You tell me when, and I'll tell you if I can make it or not.
So she's good, well, you're in school.
Well,
So was it-
it's
yeah.
Parent conferences, it's Fridays.
We had ours last week, so you're a week off.
I can slide out a little earlier. They'll be done.
We don't want to make it on
On
Friday.
Friday?
We don't want to do that.
I agree with you.
What's that?
I don't want to do it on Friday.
Oh, okay.
If we do it on Thursday, it has to be.
I
Thursday.
can't.
I
You
can't.
can't do Thursday.
Union negotiations.
What is the date like on Monday or Tuesday?
I think Monday or Tuesday is fine. It's Monday at the latest.
What is that date?
I would suggest that
18
any
and 19.
decision
18th?
that we have be sent to town council for review prior to it being complete.
I think you should furnish us confidential email to gather our thoughts, because frankly, I have forgotten more than I remember about what I'm doing.
We can do a really
And that
quick
long a time.
executive session, because that would probably be simplest if we can do that tonight.
Well, on Old Ball,
Yeah,
regarding this decision?
regarding what's going on.
Oh, but that's separate from from what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to organize a deliberative session.
Yeah, because you got to
Which-
get ready for the hearing,
which-
whatever the.
I would be fine with, deliberative session is not a warned meeting. So we could do this, as you just said, Dave, through emails and open discussion amongst ourselves. It's not a warned meeting. It's not, there's no open meeting violation.
I don't know about discussing it, but certainly to outline.
You just want to see the draft? is that-
Yeah, I want to see the outline. I'm not kidding. I mean, there hasn't been enough time gone by for me that I need to regroup and to, go back from whatever, and then you go from the visit to what happened, or what you saw,
And
blah,
what
blah,
kind of
blah.
decision can we legally make if we're getting it surveyed?
Well,
No, there is
Regarding Old Ball
a,
executive session.
I gotta say, we can't go any further than that. I'm only trying to organize,
Yeah.
get our deliberative session, which
Well, regardless, we have to meet to have a deliberative session.
why don't we do it online? No, we don't, we could do it online.
Well, right, we could do it remotely.
We could, I mean, I can get this thing typed up and send it out, and
I just want
you'll
to
see
see
it.
how Dave is setting up his virtual call.
He knows how to do it.
I'll call in.
I'll come help you.
I'll call in. No, let me tell you how this is going to go.
Checks in the mail.
No, I'm going to call in, and then I'm going to do like I did the school meeting, and I'm going to be looking for the superintendent, because there's going to be like all kinds of inappropriate language and things going on. It must be my phone.
You know, here's, this took me a long time. I was kind of lost on where to go with this, but, so I requested an outline from zoning. And once I sat down and went through that outline, it became very, very simple, especially with the fact that you have to stay within the law and the evidence that's presented. All of the testimony literally turns into one paragraph, which is a summary, and that's it. You're not looking at all of those statements. You're not, because it's,
All right,
so
when?
I will get that out tomorrow. And we'll start the discussion.
I mean, personally, I'd rather just sit in a room and do a deliberative.
Okay.
I agree, like what Dave's saying, is seeing a draft ahead of time, just so you don't waste some time, me sitting here reading it.
Yeah, I'll get that out tomorrow.
So does anyone have any time the beginning of next week? Anytime? I know you're busy with parent-teacher conferences, but you're not a teacher anymore. You can't just leave?
That doesn't go over well.
Oh,
I'm free anytime Monday, Tuesday.
When is your conference's name?
That's this week.
It's got to be done,
Then-
this
then-
thing's got to be in the mail by next Friday.
So you're okay with Monday, next Monday?
I'll skip a planning commission meeting myself.
Well, we could do it before the plan. I agreed in that, that you should go meeting to meeting.
What time is the planning commission meeting?
6:30.
We could do it at 4:30.
I don't know about that. 5:30 is
It's
okay.
dark already, Dave.
It's true, it's true.
That's,
I'm not worried about missing the planning commission meeting. We don't have to hear.
No,
any-
I'm in, 4:30.
I'd rather-
If somebody
I'd
says
rather-
I
4:30,
can do
or
5 o'clock better.
Let's do 5.
5 o'clock.
Works better for me.
On Monday.
Okay.
Does that have to get warned,
Yes.
or how does that?
No, it's a deliberative session.
On Monday.
It's not a, it does not require warning of any kind.
Do it here?
Is SAPA gonna be involved?
No. Nope.
5 o'clock, right, Monday?
5 o'clock Monday. Thank you
Here?
very much. And I'll get that document. If I don't, if you don't see it tomorrow, yeah, you will see it tomorrow. I'm not going to back out of that.
Draft like crazy, so.
Yeah, it's real, it's only on like 3 pages in my handwriting. It'll probably be 1 page when it comes out, when I type it,
Oh,
you know, with the, well, yeah. For the decision, it'll be 1 page. The rest of the stuff, do you want me to send out the, like, I'll send the policies and stuff, but I don't know that I need to send a list of people that were here. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. But,
Interesting.
I
Yeah.
just sent out the invitation, so it should hit all your calendars.
invitation for
Deliberative session.
just the board members.
You got to warn it.
And you're going to be here, you said, right? No, I do not have to warn a deliberative
No?
session. No.
I would
Deliberative
anyway.
session is an act of the board.
I would anyway, just,
It does not, it's a deliberative
I
session.
know that's what I was nervous about, but
Are we going into executive
We
session or
can't,
are
we
done?
can't
you don't have anything to lose,
We're not talking about town business.
but you don't have anything to lose. There's nothing to,
It does not require a warning.
is it worth Brandon just double checking? Because because I mean, I don't know, I just don't know.
you can do it within 24 hours, it doesn't really matter. You're just covering every base. you
It's a
got.
deliberative session. We cannot talk about any other business, period.
I could put the agenda, it would be 3 items. It'd be, would you even call it to order?
No, because
Just
it's,
be deliberative
it's
session.
not.
Well, but we're
It's
going to
not
have to
open
take
meeting.
action, we're going to have to take action to vote on it collectively out of,
In a
Out of the-
warned meeting.
well, then you need.
Wow.
Yes, do it.
Wow.
Get it done.
You're right. Yeah, at that point you do.
See that? He answered his own question.
No, you don't. No, you don't. The deliberative session, no. The
You issued a
deliberative
decision.
session can be issued, the decision can be issued in writing. It does not require a meeting or notice.
Yeah, but we're going to vote to, like, it's going to go to council for review and Brandon, and what,
And I'll,
we got nothing to
and I'll
lose.
do all of that with what your request is. If
got
it
nothing
needs
to
to be
lose.
warned, I'll warn it, but I do not believe it's necessary. How's that?
Just safe.
Yeah, I think, why don't we just put out an agenda to be safe?
Let's,
Be on the safe side.
It's all confidential
you guys
anyway.
gotta listen, I'm telling you, it's not required. Okay, we'll check with
Do
council.
we have anything else for tonight or no?
No. Motion to adjourn, somebody?
Yep.
Yes.
Do I hear a second?
Yes.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.